My name is Matt Eastwood. I'm the Worldwide Chief Creative Officer of J. Walter Thompson. I think it's really interesting. I really believe that talented people, like I remember when I graduated from university, there was a girl in my class who everyone had kind of said she's the best. She was easily the best. She was the most talented. And sort of within 5 years, she wasn't even working in advertising anymore. She had sort of given up. And I know when I graduated, I didn't graduate as the top student or anything like that. I was like maybe 5th or something like that. But I was more passionate about it than anyone else. It's the only thing I ever wanted to do. And I think it was that passion that kept me going, even through the knockbacks and through the interviews where, you know, creative directors said, we love your work, but we don't have a job. And I think that's what sort of keeps you going. So talent can somehow make people comfortable and not have to try as hard. And so when they face adversity, they're not sure how to cope with it. Whereas I think if you're not the world's most talented person, you've had to face adversity your whole life. So it becomes a skill that you're better at. So I think, you know, now I've learnt to look for that in people rather than, you know, you want talent. You can't be untalented, but you don't have to be the most talented or the most awarded, etc. So I think that's the big difference. I don't think that that passion is the only thing. Like, I think you definitely need talent, and I've had to tell people before who are incredibly passionate, and you know, I remember a young kid who just kept saying, I just want to work for you, Matt, I just want to work for you, but his work wasn't that good, and I believed he had the passion, but I don't think he had the talent to sustain that. And so that's tough, you know. It doesn't mean that he wouldn't be successful doing something else, but maybe just hadn't found the thing where his passion would come to life and kind of complement his talent. So I think you have to have talent, but sometimes finding the area where your talent is relevant is the most important thing. I've never been the kind of person that wants to give my whole life over to the work I do, because I think I'm so passionate about other things in my life, and I think it's the other things in my life that create the balance of how I'm successful in my career. So I think it's kind of a myth that you have to work, you know, from 7 in the morning till 11 at night to be successful. I think if you are doing your job well and effectively and working hard during those hours, then you shouldn't need to do that. So yeah, so I don't think time spent equates to success at all. It's funny, I don't think millennials lack passion at all. I actually think that they're in a position in their lives where they're probably passionate about more than one thing, and I think for older people it can often look like, well, they're not committed to one thing. You know, they want to chase different dreams, different passions, and I think it's just a matter of understanding that you don't have to be passionate about one thing in your life, and you can change. You can be passionate about 5 things, and you can work in all of those. And I think it's probably an older mindset that interprets that as a lack of focus, whereas I think, to me, that's almost the perfect life, where you get to indulge all of your passions throughout your life. And whether you build a career around it or not, it doesn't matter. But I think that when you explore your passions, you're going to be happy in life, which is what's important. It's funny, I mean, obviously I'm passionate about advertising. It's what I've done my whole career, and I have wanted to do that since I was 13 years old, you know. I remember when I first watched Darren Stevens on Bewitched doing advertising, that I was like, that's what I want to do. And I kind of pursued that, and I consider myself so lucky to know what my passion was at an early age, because I just had to follow it, and that's a blessing, I think, because, you know, you meet people all the time and they're 25 or 30 and they're still not sure what they're passionate about. So I'm passionate about advertising, but I'm also passionate about architecture and design, and it's probably the passion that I have outside of my work. I've designed quite a lot of houses, many of which have been featured in magazines and things, so it's a lovely kind of balance doing that and working in advertising as well, and they're linked because they're all about creativity. But I think, you know, when I'm too old to do advertising, or they decide I'm too old to be in advertising, I'll probably go and design and build houses. So it's nice to have that second passion. I think there are a lot of people that I am inspired by their passion. You know, everyone from, you know, former Vice President Al Gore, who's passionate about the environment and really kind of believed in that. I've been lucky that I've spent some time with him, and to me, the passion that he has is fantastically inspiring. I've read a lot about Steve Jobs, and I think Steve is someone who's incredibly passionate, but sort of fell down on one of the other things that I don't like in people is I don't think you have to be an arsehole to be successful, and he seems like he was a bit of an arsehole to people. But I admire his passion and his belief and his sort of doggedness in this is what I think is right. And then, people in sort of unrelated industries. I talked about an architect called Zaha Hadid, who I think, it took 10 years from inception to finally building one of her projects, and I think to remain passionate about something for that long is so incredible, and so I really admire that tenacity and that passion that it takes to keep an idea alive for the time it takes to make it happen. I think the definition of passion is an unrelenting desire for kind of success or something positive within what you're working on. It's sort of this sort of beyond reason sense. Passionate people do things that sometimes seem irrational and seem impossible, and yet they still chase it. So I think there's that sense of kind of operating beyond reason to achieve what you want to achieve. I think the key is to find what makes you happy, and there's no doubt that when you're at your happiest, you don't have to even look for passionate. You just feel passionate about what you're doing. And I think people kind of find themselves trapped in jobs or situations where they think they're happy, or they think they should be happy, but they're just not. I say to a lot of young people that working in advertising as a creative, it's a tough job because you're facing rejection all the time, and you have to be strong to be able to go through that day after day after day. Not once from just one person. It might be like 6 people before something gets made. And if you don't love that, and if you can't make that part of your life, then I think you need to go and find something else that makes you passionate, that you are passionate about. And it could be science, or it could be some other form of creativity or whatever. But I think people are often kind of afraid to leave something behind and go and chase what they're truly passionate about.